A congressional investigation is being probed into allegations that the Harvard board actually covered up allegations about former President Claudine Gay's involvement in plagiarism and academic fraud. There are some very telling letters that were sent by the Harvard board that we're going to go through right now. This is breaking news, January 9th, 2024. I'm breaking this right now. This just came out in the New York Post, where they received these kind of aggressive, threatening letters from the Harvard board's attorneys claiming that you cannot print this stuff. They were threatening a lawsuit if the New York Post published anything about the allegations of Dr. Claudine Gay's alleged fraud. And so this is really, really important because two things. Number one, these letters could prove that Harvard knew about Dr. Claudine Gay's fraud and academic plagiarism and covered it up, as well as threatening the U.S. public's right to know under the First Amendment, freedom of press, threatening to sue, threatening with their power brokers that if they published anything that alleged or anything that defamed Dr. Claudine Gay outside of their investigation, which is kind of suspect, that they would threaten the New York Post. They were threatening the New York Post with a lawsuit, which when you come from a huge governing body like that, which is headed by Penny Pritzker, these are billionaires playing billionaire games, the New York Post couldn't stand a chance. So we're going to look at this article together, as well as we're going to look at the two letters that were sent from Harvard attorneys. And I'll give you my take kind of towards the end of this video, and then I'll pass it on to you because I can't wait to hear what you guys think. Let's jump right into it. So this was published today by Isabel Vincent in the New York Post, and the title of the article is Harvard Board Facing Probe Over Claudine Gay Cover-Up and Censorship Demands. I will leave a link in the description of this video as well as the pinned comment so you can check out this article in full. I implore you to do your own due diligence, do your own research as always. And I can't wait to hear from you guys. So you can see here that this was published today, and Harvard's powerful governing body is facing calls to be fired and a full-scale congressional investigation into how it covered up allegations that University President Claudine Gay was a plagiarist. So this is really, really important to understand because, this is like fraud at a whole new level. And it involves the highest, and this is Elise Stefanik, the representative from New York, who's going to be heading the investigation. Claudine Gay resigned, as most of you guys know, on January 2nd. Pritzker Corporation used lawyers to issue 2 bullying letters to the Post. We're going to look at that right now during a weeks-long campaign to hide the truth that Gay was credibly accused of plagiarism and stood behind false claims. Okay, this is really, really important. Okay, that Gay was credibly accused of plagiarism and stood behind false claims that Gay was innocent before the administrator had ever been investigated. I want to read that one last time. They stood behind the false claims that she was innocent before the administrator had ever been investigated. So this was their golden goose. This was their manifestation that DEI was a working, constructive, the sign of the times, the sign of the future. This was going to be the course, the process and system that they were going to perpetuate for decades and decades to come. A lot of people are now predicting that 2024 is the year that DEI finally ends and it's abolished. I'd love to hear from you guys. What do you guys think? I have a video on DEI as well. Harvard first threw its weight entirely behind Gay in late October when the Post first asked the university to comment on a series of allegations that its president had passed off other academics' work as her own throughout her career. The Post is publishing the threatening letters sent by Harvard's attorneys, the bare-knuckle firm Clare Locke, today in full. And that right there is billionaire Penny Pritzker, who leads the Harvard Corporation. She is under pressure to resign after she and the board used every avenue available to cover up Claudine Gay's failures. And so you will see here, this is what's really, really important. They show Harvard's cover-up campaign in action in October and November. Harvard used its bullying lawyers to falsely claim on October 27th that the example of Gay's work we asked about were both cited and properly cited, and that allegations of plagiarism were defamatory falsehoods, in effect clearing Gay before any investigation could take place. Why would they say defamatory falsehoods? Why would they back her up with zero independent investigation or any investigation done on their own accord? I have worked at tons of different universities, both private and state, and over the last 2 decades, and I'm telling you, they are so by the book. They are so they do not deviate from protocol because of liabilities. It is the most bureaucratic, nightmarish system on planet Earth. There's so much red tape. This doesn't make any sense at all. Harvard and President Gay stand together in their determination that the proposed article must not be published, said the October 27 letter sent by Claire Locke. And here's a copy of that right here. I'll leave links to this entire article in the description and in the pinned comment. This was the first letter sent through bare-knuckle lawyers Claire Locke, saying Harvard had already effectively cleared Claudine Gay just 3 days after it was first alerted to plagiarism allegations. That's interesting. In a second letter from the firm, dated November 7th, lawyers from Harvard and Gay claimed we have conclusively rebutted with evidence all the false allegations of plagiarism that have been presented to date. But secretly, the corporation decided to launch an investigation into the allegations, a fact, listen to this, I need to highlight this, a fact that it kept private. It kept secret from students, faculty, donors, and lawmakers who summoned Gay to give evidence to them and brought in a panel of outside experts whose identities it is still covering up. I mean, this is amazing. And you can see all the, these are the actual letters with the blacked out names there. On November 7th, Penny Pritzker Corporation doubled down, claiming that allegations of plagiarism have been conclusively rebutted, but Gay was in fact under investigation for exactly those claims and was not clear. At the end of that probe, Gay made corrections relating to 4 of the plagiarism allegations the Post raised. That meant her work was not cited and properly credited, and that plagiarism allegations had not been conclusively rebutted. So that in and of itself refutes the attorney's letter claiming that they properly investigated and they conclusively rebutted. That's just not true. They just contradicted themselves right there. The article also does a great job of showing, again, I'm not going to go through all of this, but it does a great job of showing what Gay wrote in her multiple dissertations and academic papers, and what are the scholars that she took them from. And so it's really, really egregious at a whole new level. This to me is an abuse of power at the highest level, and it's the most it's the most inflammatory, it's the most transgressive, and it should be penalized to the nth degree. And so this is really interesting too, that Pritzker and the other members of the board declined to comment to the Post. Harvard spokesman Jonathan Swain, a former Democratic Party operative, also declined to comment. By the way, Penny Pritzker, this is really, really interesting. She is a scion. She's a billionaire, first of all, whose brother, J.B. Pritzker, is a Democratic governor of Illinois, also President Biden's special envoy for Ukraine's economic recovery, putting her in charge of tens of billions of dollars in aid to the war-torn country it is spent. So let me just look at you guys real fast. So what does this all mean? What is happening here? Some questions I want to pose to you. Why? Why would you claim that you had done a proper and thorough investigation, that you conclusively refuted all allegations, and that you conducted a proper investigation when it's obvious that none of those are true? Why would you claim all that? What are you hiding from? What are you trying to cover up? What does this mean? What are you trying to do? Why not? Why there's such a deviation from transparency and honesty and ethics, which is what the university system is supposed to personify ad infinitum? You want to talk about inconclusive? There is so many holes in their claims. Why do you send threatening letters to a news organization if they publish anything? Which, by the way, the New York Post did not aim to out Claudine Gay outright initially back in November and October. They were just raising questions, much like I hope I am doing here too, just trying to raise questions. You have to ask yourself these things. This is the epitome of critical thinking. Looking at author, purpose, audience, looking rhetorically, what kind of words, what kind of language is being used. Who are the principal actors? What are their agendas? What do they want to convey? What are they trying to perpetuate? What kind of ideology, philosophy, what kind of agenda? I mean, these are things you need to ask yourself. And so I believe this just makes things even worse for Harvard. It makes things even worse for Dr. Claudine Gay, who is still retaining her faculty tenure position, head of the department, making $900,000 a year after the fact that she resigned, which is an admission of guilt, even though in her letter of resignation she didn't admit anything of the sort. She blamed it all on racism, of course. She blamed it all on the race card. This completely diminishes their ethos and credibility. This is conclusive proof that they were doing everything in their power to cover this up, because as I was kind of alluding to earlier, I kind of jumped the gun, I apologize. This goes against the narrative of diversity, equity, and inclusion. When there is zero diversity, there is zero equity, and there is zero inclusion. This is a billion-dollar fraud system. People are capitalizing. I'm going to come up with another video showing what's happening at the University of Michigan. Holy macadamia nuts. Stay tuned for that. Exposing the sham that is DEI. It's like shocking. I'm still trying to kind of catch my breath here because this just happened today. And so I'm deeply saddened, but I'm also, I said I was shocked, and I'm going to contradict myself here, but I'm really not that surprised. Much like Mark Cuban perpetuating this idea of DEI, which I don't think he believes a word, which I talked about in a previous video, his battle with Elon Musk. I feel like, and then you've got a video now going viral of Michelle Obama talking about she's frightened for the elections. This narrative of at all costs, we're going to perpetuate this philosophy, even though there's a mountain of flaws, even though there should not be this much funding put towards this, there should not be this much consideration put towards this, because it hasn't been thoroughly tested. It hasn't shown any data or results or analytics to prove that it actually works. They're defending this idea at all cost because this is what they want to this is what they believe in. They believe in it without critical thinking. They believe in it because of some notion that there is this white devil out there who is, oppressing them at every turn, at every position, in every corner of capitalism and commerce and democracy. That's what I believe. That's what I think. And they're going to defend it at all costs. They're going to defend it all the way up until the election coming up here in 2024 in November. What a year this is going to be. Holy macadamia nut. I want to pose the question to you. What do you think about this? What are your thoughts on this, very, very bombshell of a article by the New York Post exposing the Harvard board, Penny Pritzker, and the entire board for covering up Claudine Gay's fraud, academic fraud. What do you guys think? What are your thoughts? Do you believe it? Do you not believe it? Do you think this is emblematic of the times? Do you think this is just another kind of sign that higher education is in just a complete spiral? I would love to hear from you. I pass this over to you again. I want the comments section to be a beautiful discourse of engaging, thoughtful, constructive, civil-minded individuals just communicating. My point of bringing all this out and talking about this stuff and doing videos on this is not to divide. If anything, I'm just hoping to look at the truth objectively, pose some questions so we can all kind of make the decision together of what's actually true, what's actually happening here. That is what critical thinking is all about, and that's what I'm all about. So I'd love to hear from you. Please keep it civil. I respond to all the comments personally. I would love to hear from you. If you haven't checked out these videos right here, go ahead and check them out because they're fantastic. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Make sure you subscribe down there, and I'll see you soon.